Good morning. Welcome to Sunday. Hi, Lori. Nice to see you. I don't know who's behind the iPhone, but whoever it is, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Sorry for the delay. I keep trying to adjust the Facebook feed and inadvertently cutting it off. So, technology. Sometimes the magic works, sometimes not so much. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. Greetings to the people I can see on Zoom. Greetings to the people who I cannot see on Facebook. I hope you came back after I cut you off. And greetings to the people who watch this later on YouTube. And greetings to any newcomers. Today we are continuing our romp through the Eightfold Path. Buddha's path to awakening. When Buddha awakened under the Bodhi tree 2,500 years ago, he did not know how to explain what he had learned and wasn't sure he was going to teach it, and resumed his wanderings and came upon 5 monks who he had practiced with before, and they asked him to explain it. So what he explained was that life includes suffering, dissatisfaction, grief, and that there's a cause for that, there's an effect of the cause, and there's a solution, and the solution is the Eightfold Path. So there's the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. What I find interesting about that, among the things I find interesting about that, is there's 12 disciples, 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. The beads in Omala are a division of 12. 12 shows up in spiritual movements lots and lots of times. Maybe 12 will be the number of times I try to get it right with Facebook before I stop noodling around with it. At any rate, we have covered the Eightfold Path includes right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And so far we have covered right understanding, right intention, right speech, and right action. And today we are going to cover right livelihood. And there's all kinds of ways you can parse that, and we're going to talk about some of them. But first, let's meditate. So, I invite you to find a meditation posture. And that's a posture in which you are relaxed but alert. If you're sitting up straight, letting the natural curve in your back happen, maybe having your hips rolled forward just a little bit, but not like rigid. If there was like a little string right at the crown of your head and you pulled it up gently, tuck your chin in, it kind of straightens the top of your spine, helps to align your chakras without stressing or stretching or the muscles in your neck. This is a relaxed posture. And the reason why I talk about entering into a posture is when we begin meditation, we enter into a posture as a signal that we are entering into something else other than our regular day-to-dayness. So, just assuming a meditation posture and letting your eyes drift down so that you're like looking down the bridge of your nose, and that relaxes the muscles around your eyes. And And gently close your eyes. And let's just start with a few long, slow, deep breaths into the belly. Just to help us get connected to the body. We connect to the body because the body is relatively still and always in the present moment. The mind tends to be more active, wander in and out of the moment. But when we're focused on our breathing, we're focused on what's happening here and now. The simplicity of the present moment. And letting your breathing return to normal. And as you out-breath, as you exhale, just relax and soften the body. You relax the muscles in your face, they do a lot of work. Letting your eyes just sort of roll back and rest in their sockets. Just receiving the in-breath, and on the out-breath, relaxing your shoulders to whatever degree you can. There's no musts here. Continuing as we breathe out to let go of whatever stress or tension we're holding or keeping in our bodies, to whatever degree we can. Letting your belly just be soft. And hang. Letting your belly expand on the in-breath. Just noticing the rhythm of your body as you breathe in and out. Now let your attention and your awareness come to the sensations of the body breathing. Some people focus on the sensations of the air moving in and out of your nose. Some people focus on the sensations of the chest or the belly moving up and down. Some people focus on the overall global sensations of the body breathing in and out. Whatever is easy. But just resting your awareness and keeping your focus on the breath, on the sensations of the body breathing. If your mind wanders off, well, not if, when your mind wanders off, which it will do, because that's what it does. It's a function of the mind to think and wander. Don't worry about it. And when you notice, just gently, firmly, bring your attention back to your breathing. You may notice right away, you may be lost in thought for some period of time. It's all good. When you notice, just begin again with your breathing. And just keep doing this again and again, without any concern as to how often you have to refocus, how often you have to come back. Just in those moments when you notice it's okay to relax the thinking mind and come back to being with the sensations and the rhythm of the body breathing. Thoughts arise, thoughts pass, thinking comes and goes. It's all good. Just when you notice, gently, without recrimination or frustration, just bring your attention back to your breathing. And as we come to the end of this sitting, just noticing the feeling tone of the present moment. The simplicity of just sitting here breathing. The body is sitting simply in the moment. The mind sometimes wanders, sometimes not. But you can come back to the present moment anytime. May it be that the benefits of this practice help us go out into the world today with kindness, to view the world through kind eyes. And whatever centeredness or calm or presence we may have gained from this practice today, may it enable us to meet the world compassionately and bring that to our interactions with people, the people in our households, people at the grocery store, wherever we walk today. And may it be that the benefits of this practice radiate from us into our households and neighborhoods, into our towns, to the world around us, to all beings everywhere. May the benefits of this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be at ease and at peace. Thank you for your practice. As usual, I put the usual information in the chat for people on Zoom. How to find these sessions, how to find them on YouTube, and how to find them archived on YouTube, and how to find them on Facebook, where they're also archived. And also my contact information about my website. And if you feel inclined, no obligation, this is not a request. I do this freely and I enjoy doing it, but if you feel inclined to make a donation, there's a link for that in the chat. So, as I said before, today we are continuing our journey through the Eightfold Path. And what Buddha pointed to was relief from suffering, grief, and dissatisfaction. And he annotated 3 causes of that, and the 4th truth that he pointed to was the Eightfold Path. And the Eightfold Path, at least from where I sit, is a set of approaches to have a more peaceful, calm, centered, untense life. And it includes right understanding, the understanding that all things are impermanent and all things have causes and effect, and right intention, the intention to not do harm, right speech, to refrain from harm in speech, right action, to refrain from harm in action. And today we're talking about right livelihood. The other three that we'll cover in the coming weeks are right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And right, the word right, is a translation from the Pali word samsa. And I don't really take that as right as in like morally right, even though to me it is. This is just the right way to do it if you want to have a life free of stress and tension. So, right livelihood, Pali is sama ajiva. Ajiva translated into sustenance or support, what we do to sustain our lives. The primary source from which our life depends, which we live by. And conversely, when we receive that sustenance, what we do with it, how we spend it, and how we receive it. It suggests, on one hand, making a living in a way that does no harm, or as little harm as possible. I'm going to unpack that a little bit. Not only to the world, but to avoid stress and remorse and denial. Now, the Buddha addressed some obvious ways that he said were not right livelihood: trading in weapons, human trafficking, being a soldier. We're going to unpack that a little more. Any activity that requires dishonesty or injury to others. It's not necessarily that simple, right? When I was traveling in India, one of the teachers that we were traveling with was a woman named Robina, Venerable Robina. She was Australian nun in the Tibetan tradition, Tibetan nun from Australia. She used to say, Buddha says it's karma, darling, or Buddha says it's karma, baby. I always wondered, is that Buddha says karma, it's karma, baby, or Buddha says it's karma, karma, baby? But anyway, that aside, there was a guy traveling with us, his name was Constantine, and he was a shrimper. And she said that that was not a right livelihood because the shrimp were suffering, and that he would be denied a precious human rebirth, which is something that Tibetan Buddhists talk about. I'm not really completely there with that, but I don't think that that's actually true. The inverse of that is he was feeding you and me. Being a soldier could be considered outside livelihood, but what if the intention is to keep peace and protect others? It starts to get complicated. Doctors are healers, but they have to navigate a corporate, medical, and insurance complex that often seems more concerned with profitability and shareholder value than it does with the interests of their patients. I did meet another doctor. I was on a road trip and I needed to visit, a clinic for something. This guy had gotten out of that completely because he was tired of being told he could only spend 15 minutes with patients and he had to keep rolling them through like a conveyor belt. He just wanted to practice medicine. So there are ways around things. But we cannot step out of the economic matrix so we have to resign ourselves to the truth that everything we do is a mixture of consequences known and unknown. And in the modern monetary economy, we are intimately integrated with how we affect the world. So, how we consume and what we consume, consuming is part of our livelihood, where it comes from, and the source, whether or not it's healthy for the planet, for us, for other people. We want to feel good about how we sustain ourselves. So right livelihood suggests that we be aware of what sustains us and what we receive. Where do things come from? And it can be interpreted as to live justly. How we acquire sustenance justly. Does it promote justice for the planet, for people, for ourselves? Primarily causing no harm. Being motivated by the greatest good, not only for the world, career as a journalist for several years. After a series of conversations I had with one of my oldest friends about the role of journalism in promoting social change. And I ended up working for a really large newspaper and came to believe that the role of journalism as it was designed in that context was about keeping the status quo. I decided that no longer, there were a bunch of reasons that no longer worked for me. That was just one of them. So I got out of that, got a license as a therapist. That's how I pursued my right livelihood. That's over here. All over here, I decided to participate in the insurance industry because I wanted to make that available to people for $25 and $35 and still make a living. So I had to participate in a part of the economy that is principally geared towards rationing healthcare, especially mental health care, to preserve the profitability of shareholder value and executive compensation. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But we do the best we can, and each of us has to decide describes it as the way we consume puts a spin on the world. How are we going to spin the world? By what we're supporting. If we're buying cigarettes, we are promoting the sale and manufacturing of tobacco products. If we're buying organic food from organic farmers at the farmers market versus industrial farming, and which includes use of insecticides and ground erosion, and companies like Monsanto, which generally is known for producing genetically modified organisms and bad environmental practices and clashing with local farmers. How are we going to consume? I can buy from Amazon, but then I'm participating in fostering poverty, wages, and corporate growth. Amazon happens to be the country's largest employer of people on food stamps. Or I can buy from a local bookstore down the street. It's owned by a friend of mine, or Carmichael Books over in New Albany, Indiana. How I consume, how we consume, is part of right livelihood. There are all kinds of examples. I can patronize Starbucks, which is at war with labor, and often Bigfoot's smaller local competitors out of business by like planting a Starbucks like right on the other side of the parking lot from the little cafe. Or I can go to Coffee Crossing in Sellersburg, Indiana, or Pearl Street Coffee down in Jeffersonville and support local business. It's about how I participate in my livelihood, in getting what I need to sustain myself. And as again, I said, it's complicated. I can buy an electric car so that I can reduce my consumption of petroleum products. But then there's the environmental impact of nickel farming, of nickel extraction used in batteries, and the environmental impact of electrical generation every time I recharge the car. So it's a mindfulness practice. Being mindful of how I walk in the world, how that impacts the world around me, just not just here at my desk, but more broadly. So right livelihood involves mindfulness of our place in the whole, and thus becoming a foundation for intelligent social activism and ecological responsibility. It suggests that we mindfully pay attention to doing no harm with our choices, which is really a lot of the essence of the first part of the Eightfold Path, doing no harm with how we make choices. So I invite you to consider um, in your day-to-day activities what spin you're bringing to the world and what are the broader implications. And I invite you to do this with self-compassion and gentleness because we don't always know. We're all doing the best we can. Thank you for your kind attention. Any questions or comments?
I have a question for you. Hi. Um, are most Buddhists vegans and vegetarians, and is that something we should be striving towards?
That's a
I think
complicated
perhaps
question.
someday in the future I might get there, but certainly not there right now.
Um, that's a complicated
Yeah, thank
question,
you.
and you really have to answer that for yourself. Some Buddhists go that way. But I knew a guy who um, was involved in construction at one of the Zen retreat centers in California. And he said eating strictly vegetarian simply wasn't giving him enough protein to do the manual labor he had to do every day. Right?
Right.
So, all life consumes life. And where I go with that personally, and this may be a little tangential, but I've been accused of being tangential before, it's a superpower. Um, there's a really interesting sci-fi novel by a guy named Olaf Stapleton called Star Maker, in which he is a disembodied consciousness sort of exploring the universe. And at some point he comes upon a planet that is all vegetation, and on the surface you look at it, you see it's all vegetation. But then he enters the consciousness of these plants and discovers that they are actually more evolved in a higher consciousness than we are. Right? They get their sustenance directly from the soil, from the air, from the water that falls from the sky. They are at
Right.
war with nobody. So when you pull a broccoli out of the ground and cut it in half, does it notice? Who knows? Um, life consumes life.
Mhm.
I believe in sustainable farming. I believe in humane treatment. But whether or not you decide that right livelihood and how you consume has to include vegetarianism, that's up to you. And petroleum products are consumed bringing that to market. Insecticides and other chemicals are used producing that in the ground. It's not, I can do a whole other Dharma talk on the nature of dependent co-arising.
Yeah, my husband's a gardener, and he believed, and well, we both believe plants have certain consciousness as well. The trees communicate with each other, and
Yeah,
yeah, so
so
it is a complicated question.
you have to decide what works for you. You also have to decide what works for your health needs. I have a health condition that I can only consume a certain amount of protein every day. And I have to track potassium. It's a weird thing to have to track. So that eliminates a lot of meat products. So you have to decide what works for you. I hope that was helpful because it felt kind of rambling to me.
That was helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Lori, I don't think I've seen you before. Do you want to say hello? Do you have any questions?
Hello.
Hi.
No, I don't have any questions. I really enjoyed being here. Thank you very much for making it possible. So my understanding is you meet weekly. Is that the
I do this
idea?
every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And I do it here, I do it on Facebook Live, and then they're archived on YouTube. So,
Okay. Oh, good. Okay.
the Zoom sessions get usually this many people, sometimes like 8 or 10. Then there's a whole bunch of people who watch it later on Facebook or YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
My primary teacher is a guy named Gil Fonsdale. He is in Redwood City, California. You should check him out at the Insight Meditation Center. He
Okay.
teaches at 7 o'clock every morning, California time. That's a little late in the day for me. I like to meditate. He does a guided meditation and Dharma talk every morning. So I watch it on
Okay.
YouTube from the day before. So,
What's his name? Sorry. How do you spell it?
Gil Fonsdale, Fonsdal. If you look up the Insight Meditation Center,
Yep.
Redwood City, California,
Okay.
you'll find him.
He'll come up. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Or my contact information is in the chat. Drop me an email and I'll send you his information. Gil
Okay.
is my
Perfect.
teacher.
Oh, great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
he's very
Yeah,
cool.
I see it there. Thanks.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Glad you're here. Come back again.
I'm glad to be here. I hope to. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things that happened while we were meditating today is my electronic clock up here switched the time. It says it's a quarter to 1. I don't think that's accurate, so I'm going to guess that we're coming up on 10 o'clock. So, electronics. Sometimes the magic works, sometimes not so much. Thank you all. See you again.